Hello, people of the future. It's week 6 of Pokemon Draft League. This week we're going up against the East Bay Easy Bakes. He's got a Corviknight, Rillaboom, Cloister, Klefki, Rotom Heat, and Goodra, Slowking, Heatmore, Exploud, and Dusclops. So starting off, most of his heavy hitters are all somewhat weak to fire, Corviknight, Rillaboom, and Klefki, so I definitely wanted to bring my Heatran. I have Eruption for when it's at a little higher of a health for that extra damage, and then as it gets lower, Lava Plume, maybe with a 30% burn chance, and then giving it Ancient Power and Earth Power as a way to sort of chip at some of the other stuff, maybe hit at Heatmore or Exploud, and then Ancient Power, try and get Rotom Heat, and maybe get that 10% stat boost, along with an Assault Vest just to sort of tank any hits. Next up, our Shifu. Always got to bring our Shifu. It has Choice Band, since most of his team is a little slower than Urshifu. I went with Adamant for the EV spread to give it that extra attacking power. And then with Choice Band, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, and then Facade as a coverage move. The only fairy type he has that I would want to hit with a Poison Jab is Klefki, which also has Steel typing. So instead of that, I have Facade just in case he does manage to get some sort of status on Shifu that should do extra damage. Next up, Rotom-Wash. Always got to have a good defensive pivot. Leftovers again, this time especially defensive, with Volt Switch and Hydro Pump. And then I have Thunder Wave, since he has no ground or Volt Absorb. Be able to spam Thunder Waves and hopefully paralyze some of his team. And then Pain Split as a little healing. Tangrowth with Regenerator to get health back every time that we switch out. Rocky Helmet for any physical chip, maybe a Corviknight U-turn or Rillaboom Wood Hammer. With Giga Drain, Knockoff, Sleep Powder to maybe get something to sleep, and then Sludge Bomb, trying to hit stuff like Rillaboom. Finally, Mimikyu. Mimikyu, we have Sword Stance on it to get that extra attack. Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, and then Wood Hammer, just so that way it can hit. Has a little more coverage. Fairy types aren't too great here. There's nothing that's really too weak to fairy types, so instead of that, I went with Wood Hammer and Spell Tag just to have the ghost types extra powerful. And then with this EV spread, this should hopefully be faster than even a timid Rotom Heat, unless it is Scarfed. So it should outrun anything besides a Scarf. And then finally, we have Togekiss, Heavy Duty Boots, with Flamethrower, Air Slash, and then I have Extreme Speed just in case we need any priority in the team. And then with Serene Grace, that should be able to stack up with Air Slash to give us 60% chance to flinch. And then same thing with extra special attack, but speed-wise still outspeeding most of his team. So that's the team breakdown, and I will get back to you once we start the actual battle. Okay. So, while playing, my Wi-Fi cut out, which killed my recording software, but it didn't kill the game. So we're going to have to do a little post-game analysis, but just from the start, you can see that here we have Rillaboom, Corviknight, Rotom Heat, Klefki, Slowking, and Cloister. So it's looking like Heatran's going to do pretty well with Rillaboom, Corviknight, and Klefki. Then Rotom-Wash should be able to get most of the cleanup with being able to hard check Rotom Heat, and then also getting some Thunderbolt and Volt switches off on Slowking and Cloister. So, seeing on this lead off, we start off with Rotom-Wash, since really it can check just about anything that comes in. See Klefki comes in, goes for the spike setup, Thunder Wave to try and get a paralysis, sort of keep his team slow. He goes for the second spike, while I here go for the Volt switch, trying to get in Heatran, since I know Heatran can easily check this. Gonna force out Klefki then. He comes into Slowking, which is fine. Go for the Eruption. Not full power since the spike damage was happening, but now we can switch into Tangrowth, which checks Slowking pretty efficiently. He goes for the Future Sight. So right here I'm trying to debate what to do. Probably going for the knockoff. Brings in Corviknight, has the Rocky Helmet, but we get rid of it, which is going to be huge, so that way we're not taking chip damage from physical attacks. Get the Rotom-Wash just to come in. He goes for the U-turn, smart move, get some, counterplay. Brings in Rillaboom. There's the Future Sight attack, not too much. Rotom-Wash is at 60%. Tangrowth is going to be another good check. So I should have mentioned that he brought in his Rillaboom, but Grassy Surge never actually started on his side, which means he never put Grassy Surge as his ability. So his ability is technically Overgrowth. So I think that was just a misplay by his part with his team building, but it really comes into effect because here he's going to go for, Grassy Glide, which would be powered up if he actually had Grassy Terrain, but he doesn't. Takes a little Helmet Chip. Here in the chat, he finally realizes that he forgot to give it to him. And then here on the switch, I'm able, because I think he was trying to predict a Sludge Wave or Sludge Bomb, I'm able to get a knockoff, which helps take Rotom Heat down a little bit with getting rid of its Assault Vest. Heatran comes in. He goes for the Overheat, which just powers up Heatran with Flash Fire. Now, Flash Fire only powers up your fire moves, but still, that's super good. Here he goes for Slowking. I go for the Ancient Power, trying to get the boost, and also that was just to sort of be a check to Rotom Heat if he was going to go for a Volt Switch, and I was actually faster. Same thing, I'm going to bring Tangrowth with its Regenerator, able to keep all its health. Slowking goes for the Scald, doesn't get the burn, which is always good. Put it to sleep with Sleep Powder, which I'm quite glad that 75% hit. It's going to make Slowking less of a threat. Knock off again. We already knocked off the Assault Vest, so it's not that huge. Rotom-Wash comes in, which is able to eat this up, only 25% against this Rotom Heat. Plus I have leftovers to still get some. He goes for the Hard Switch. Here I'm just going to go for the Volt Switch myself, get a crit, so that way it loses 25%. Togekiss is going to be able to get some Defog, threaten him with an Air Slash, maybe a T-Wave. Go for the Air Slash, resisted 19%, not the greatest, but had put Flamethrower on it specifically because I knew how much of his team was threatened by a Flamethrower. Here he switches out, smart move trying to keep his Corviknight healthy. Only 10% on Slowking. With Regenerator, Slowking's going to be a nice Wally tank. So he does wake up here, goes straight for the Scald, which really sucks because Mimikyu's Disguise now gets broken. So now we can't even go for a Swords Dance. So I go for the Shadow Sneak to try and get some chip. Doesn't work. Wood Hammer comes out, gets good chip on Cloister. He goes directly for the Shell Smash. So he's kind of getting into this sweeping territory. Go for the Shadow Sneak again. Almost gets the kill with 3%. And here he's going to go for Ice Beam and take out Mimikyu. So far in this entire game, played amazingly. Shifu hasn't come out yet, but everyone else has come out, taken a bunch of chip, and still ours is the first Mon to go down. Klefki is paralyzed at least. Corviknight's about to die. Rotom Heat's at about half. Cloister's about to die, and Slowking's still going to be at full health. So some good chip, but still taking that first hit is never good. He goes down because he had Life Orb, which is an interesting choice to put on Cloister, especially with Shell Smash. We get the good switch here, where we bring out Heatran and Corviknight comes out. This again was just, well, he's got 3 Mons that are weak to a fire attack, and then Heatran can kind of check Rotom Heat just because he can't go for an Overheat, and even with a Volt Switch, it's not going to do too much damage. And so Slowking was the only real check. So Heatran coming out was a good choice. He has to switch to Slowking, which then lets us just get an extra attack of Lava Plume off. Doesn't do much, but kind of fishing for the burn there, just trying to get something. Bring in the Rotom-Wash. He goes for the Future Sight. And here we're going to see he's going to switch out again. We'll go for the Volt Switch to sort of chip him down. And now it's at 63%. He's got leftovers on it. And the Future Sight's going to come in next turn. So we got to do something to chip him down. I go for the Roost just to stay healthy. I was thinking he was going to go for a T-Wave off of his Klefki, but he didn't. So we take that Future Sight. Slowking's in. Goes straight for the Scald. 25%. Not bad. But here now we can go for Air Slash, trying to get some flinches. No flinch there with the Future Sight coming out. Trying for it again. Comes through again with the Scald. Miss the Air Slash, which is terrible. He gets the Scald, and now we're going to have the Future Sight actually take us out. So now we've lost 2 guys. All he's really lost is Cloister. It's not looking the greatest, but here comes in our Shifu. Shifu with black glasses, going to do a lot of damage all the way around. So Corviknight comes out. The pressure is going to make 2 Wicked, use 2 PPs of Wicked Blow, but really that doesn't matter. So now it's looking almost like it's ready to go. And here in the chat, Pants for the Week is Hammerheads. Juan with Hammerheads said, I never thought about pressure stalling out Wicked Blow, which I guess is a thing. There's only 8 of them. And then here, me and my hubris said, it's only going to take 4 Wicked Blows for the W. And so Rillaboom comes in, Wicked Blow, critical hit, knocks it out. So he's got 3 Mons left. Then he brings out Klefki, go for the Wicked Blow again, and it's only 59%. I really thought I calculated this to being higher than that. I thought the crit was 70%, but I obviously didn't. I think I might have been doing that back when it was choice banned as opposed to black glasses. So I don't get him. He comes in with a Play Rough, knocks me out, and so now I'm really going to have to deal with this Klefki here. Not the Klefki specifically, but now this Slowking with Regenerator is going to be able to wall a lot of my team, since the only real attacker I have for it is Rotom-Wash. And I guess Tangrowth also works. So here I go with Heatran to sort of, push out Klefki. Lava Plume still searching for that burn. I don't get it. Here he goes straight for the Scald. He gets the burn, which isn't too bad since Tangrowth is, more of a defensive check. I go for the Sleep Powder and connect. That's the second Sleep Powder I've gotten, which has been super helpful. Here I switch out to Rotom-Wash. Rotom-Wash can basically take out any of his guys if I can get a good read of Hydro Pump or Thunderbolt. Here I miss the Hydro Pump, which wouldn't have done a ton to Slowking. And here I'm still hating myself because I kind of threw Shifu away. If I had just switched, gone to Heatran, sacked Heatran, and then came back out with any other guy, I could have easily, or even, put out Tangrowth and sacked it, and then Heatran came in. I could have easily ended this game so much earlier. So their Volt Switch only does 28%, which is not enough to get through this Slowking. Tangrowth comes out. Slowking goes for that Future Sight. The burn hurts, but it's not terrible since Tangrowth does have Regenerator, so I can kind of live with that. Knock off the leftovers, which gets rid of 6%. Not really great. Here I go for the Heatran again, losing more health on those spikes. I never did defog them away. Here he goes for extra spikes. Heatran lives from that Future Sight, which has been huge, because now he can go for some attack. Earth Power, and then there's no point in pulling him out since he's just going to die. So I go for the Lava Plume, still don't get the burn, and Slowking takes me out with the Scald. So right now it's looking pretty bad. All I have is my Rotom-Wash and my Tangrowth, which is burned. He's got 3 Mons. Yeah, Klefki is basically fodder right now, but Rotom Heat, if it wakes up, is going to be able to check Tangrowth, and Slowking is also able to just sort of eat up any special attacks. So here I go for the Volt Switch, managed to get him down around 50%, bring out Tangrowth, takes a bunch with the spike damage, goes for the Future Sight. So here, Klefki's going to come out just to get sacked. I go for the Giga Drain, trying to get a little bit of health back. Not like it's a lot of health, but just something that Slowking will actually have to be worried about. So he brings out Rotom, trying to get the, burn a turn of sleep. Here I was predicting a double. And so, well, I don't know why I went for Brick Break as opposed to Giga Drain. But the Future Sight attack takes me out. So now all I'm left down to is my Rotom-Wash. Luckily, I connect on that Hydro Pump. So I'm able to get him down to just his Slowking. But this is a defensive Slowking against my Rotom-Wash. So I go for the Volt Switch. This time it does 32%, which is pretty high roll. He goes for the Future Sight. I'm at least getting some leftovers recovery. Go for the Volt Switch again. He goes for Slack Off, just trying to get that extra health. So here, what we're going to do, Thunder Wave. I'm just hoping for some paralysis, trying to stall him out. Get one or two things that will actually keep him from healing up. Here I go for another Volt Switch, just trying to keep him alive. He gets the burn now, which is going to chip away all of that leftovers that I'm getting, which is not good. I go for the Pain Split to try and recover some extra health. He goes for another Future Sight, which is his real only big damage since Scald doesn't do too much. Another Volt Switch, and here all I'm just doing is hoping he can get paralyzed. He does, and this final Volt Switch should be enough to take him out, and I don't even have to worry about the Future Sight. So, in the end, managed to get the 1-0 victory against him. It was really close with sacking Shifu a little too early in the match when Klefki had just enough health. If I had kept him alive, it easily would have been able to knock out all the guys on the back, Slowking and Rotom Heat and Corviknight. So a little sad on that part about taking the 3-0 victory down to a 1-0 victory, but we got the win in the end. Rotom-Wash really pulled his weight, and now there's one more week until playoffs start. So I'll try and get on and break down his team. Okay, well, Harrison had to go do something, so I wasn't able to get a post-game breakdown with him. But overall, he had his Rillaboom with Overgrow, which definitely should have been Grassy Surge, would have helped him a lot. And then I don't think he had a Golf Berry. I don't remember exactly too much. But the main breakdown was a lot of his team was extremely weak to any sort of fire move, which would be Rillaboom, Corviknight, and Klefki, which surprisingly Heatran didn't do a whole lot with threatening them out. Worked a little bit of the actual getting him to switch, but not actually dealing too much damage. Slowking, I always forget how beefy Slowking actually is. That 110 base special defense, whenever you max it out, plus you max out its HP, you get up to 319 with 394. It just becomes a monster. And then, instead of Oblivious, you're going with Regenerator, so it's staying healthy. Just anything you're doing here, Scald and Future Sight, Slack Off, and then maybe Teleport. I don't know what his last move was, but something like this, where you're trying to be extra, just sponge up anything your team needs, and you work for it. It's really something. Cloister with his Life Orb was something pretty surprising to me, since a lot of the times you either see it with Focus Sash just so that way it can actually set up, or you'd see it with King's Rock, so that way, since you can go with Skill Link, so that way it's always going to hit 5 times, and you go for Icicle Spear to basically go for some flinch chances. But that was an interesting build. It didn't really do too much, but it could have been something. And then Klefki, I always forget how annoying just a Mon like Klefki can be, where, especially with Prankster, you can just start setting stuff up with spikes, get it even with Thunder Wave, which can, with Prankster happens earlier, and then getting Play Rough in there and some Steel move, Flash Cannon or something. And again, you just make some sort of defensive Mon, give it leftovers, and you're just trying to, really annoy the other team without doing too much damage, except Play Rough just happens to take out your Shifu right when you're about to sweep the game. Corviknight, again, not too bad. Corviknight, I always get worried about Iron Defense body press setup where it just becomes this monster that you can't really break through. But luckily he didn't have enough time to really set up Corviknight in that way. And then finally, Rotom Heat, sort of, I'd say just about as good as Rotom-Wash. That perfect just sort of sponge on the team, can do whatever you really need. Could be offensive, could be defensive with really good spreads. And so with it being Assault Vest as opposed to heavy duty boots, I should have probably prioritized getting rocks up, especially since rocks could actually not chip down too much, since he did bring 2 steel types and Slowking does have regenerator, so it wouldn't be too much. But overall, still not terrible, especially because our Rotom matches up a lot better against his Rotom, just with Hydro Pump and being able to eat up that overheat. Which is the other surprising thing whenever I was scouting this team is all the Rotoms are basically the exact same. They get all the exact same moves, except they'll get one extra thing. So Rotom Heat over here gets Overheat, which is cool and all. But then if you look at Rotom-Wash, the only water move Rotom-Wash gets is Hydro Pump. Not Scald or any other thing, only Hydro Pump. Which really annoys me just because it's like, okay, so I finally get this water type. I guess Rain Dance as well, but you're not going to use Rain Dance on our Rotom-Wash. And so it's like, okay, so all you get is one water move for losing your Ghost type. I haven't really looked into the other Rotoms since they tend to be a little worse than Heat and Wash. But here, same thing, where you're looking at the only real viable grass move is Leaf Storm. So almost all of these Mons, all these Rotoms, they get some sort of quite powerful one stab for that secondary type they get. The only thing is, with Leaf Storm, you're dropping your special attack by 2. With Overheat, you're dropping your special attack by 2. But if you're going for Rotom-Wash, you're not actually going to be dropping your attack by 2, since Hydro Pump is just less accurate. It's 80% as opposed to 90%. So I will much rather take Hydro Pump, missing a little more, but then I can stay in on it and try again, as opposed to the Overheat or Leaf Storm where you basically need to switch out if after you shoot off, or I guess you can stay in if you really think you're fishing for that crit. But just something to keep in mind when you're deciding between, which Rotom should I have? But should also say this should almost always be, you just think like heavy duty boots just to keep it alive if there's rocks up, if you're going to be switching it in and out, especially with Volt Switch. But, Harrison knows how to build his team. It was good enough to bring me down to a 1-0 victory, but we got the W. So next week, it's the last week, we're going up against Nima with the Hungry Hippies. By then, we should have a better idea of what playoffs are starting to look like. So we'll see how that one goes. But until then, I hope you enjoy and have a good day.